Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Here are the headlines we are tracking this evening. India and the UK sign a free trade agreement. Average tariffs to be reduced from 15% to 3%. Tariffs removed on nearly 99% of goods and services traded between both nations. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Starmer say the deal will boost bilateral trade by $35 billion annually. The United States and the European Union move closer to a trade deal ahead of the August deadline. President Trump says EU will fully fund the purchase of American weapons, some of which will be sent to Ukraine. Trump also says Washington is in the process of completing a deal with China. US President Donald Trump will make a rare visit to the US Federal Reserve amid his ongoing tussle with Chair Jerome Powell. This will be the first visit to the central bank by a US president since 2006. Positive global cues failed to lift Dalal Street. Sensex and Nifty declined by nearly 1%. Mid-caps fall in tandem with the blue chips. IndusInd Bank gets the board approval to raise 30,000 crore rupees. Hindujas set to increase their presence in the board as RBI also allows promoters to amend the Articles of Association and nominate up to 2 directors. Shares of Indian Energy Exchange plunge 30% a day after India's electricity regulator announces a mechanism known as market coupling. The fall is the second steepest decline among BSE 500 stocks in the last 5 years. Behind only Zee Entertainment, market coupling will allow energy markets to create a single uniform price for electricity across different trading platforms and IEX's dominance. Air India's losses in FY25 widened to nearly 11,000 crore rupees, but revenue rises to more than 78,000 crore rupees, narrowing the gap with Indigo. Air India is the fourth largest contributor to the Tata Group's total revenue. Former Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay, Seth, appointed as the new chairman of the insurance regulator, IRDAI, for a 3-year term. RBI, SEBI and the IRDAI are now being helmed by former Finance Ministry bureaucrats. Enforcement Directorate raids 40 sites linked to Anil Ambani. Sources say the raids are in connection with Reliance Communications, allegedly defrauding banks over loans worth 14,000 crore rupees. Anil Ambani's group companies say the raids will have no impact on their businesses. A passenger plane with 49 people on board crashes in Russia's Far East region bordering China. The flight, operated by Siberia-based Angara Airlines, vanished from the radar and lost contact with air traffic controllers. The armies of Thailand and Cambodia exchange fire as a border dispute flares up. Thailand closes the borders and launches airstrikes after claiming Cambodia attacks killed 9 people. The much-awaited India-UK Free Trade Agreement has been signed. It's been in the works for over 3 years, with talks starting in January 2022. United Kingdom has seen 4 prime ministers since then. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says that there may be a swing and a miss, but India will always play with a straight bat. Keir Starmer says that the deal would create over 2,000 British jobs. Commerce ministers of both nations signed the agreement earlier today. The deal is estimated to boost bilateral ties between the two nations by $35 billion and bring down the tariff guardrails to a large extent. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer received Prime Minister Modi at the Chequers House earlier today. The leaders reviewed bilateral trade ties and discussed issues including technology, investment, climate, defence, migration. As part of the trade deal, India will lower its average tariffs on products from the United Kingdom from 15% to 3%. Products from the UK, including soft drinks, cosmetics, cars, medical devices and Scotch whisky, will get cheaper. The deal is also going to unlock access for financial and business services for both nations. Tariffs on cars manufactured in UK would gradually be cut to 10% under a quota-based system. How will India benefit from this trade deal? Well, the UK has opened up its market for India's labour-intensive goods, which will include leather and footwear, textiles, engineering goods, fertilizers, chemicals and petrochemicals. Agriculture exports to Britain also likely to increase by over 20% in the next 3 years. India's Commerce Ministry says that the FTA will enable farmers to get preferential access to UK's $37.5 billion agri-market. Speaking at a joint press conference, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that India and UK are launching the Vision 2035 strategy to work more closely on defence, migration, health. Prime Minister Narendra Modi used a cricketing analogy while talking about India's ties with the UK. He said India is committed to building high-scoring, solid partnerships.
Those who misuse democratic freedoms to undermine democracy itself must be held account. इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स के प्रत्यार्पण के विषय पर भी हमारी एजेंसी सहयोग और समन्वय से काम करती रहेगी.
This is the biggest and most economically significant trade deal that the UK has made since leaving the EU. And I think I can say that it's one of the most comprehensive deals that India has ever done, boosting wages, raising living standards, and putting more money in the pockets of working people. It is good for jobs, it is good for business, cutting tariffs and making trade cheaper, quicker and easier.
Cricket is not just a game, but a passion. And also a great metaphor for our partnership. There may be a swing and a miss at times, but we always play with a straight bat. We are committed to building high-scoring, solid partnership.
The United States and the European Union move closer to a trade deal ahead of the August 1st deadline. Speaking at the AI summit in Washington, D.C., President Trump has said that EU will fully fund the purchase of American weapons. He added that some of the weapons would be sent to aid Ukraine's war against Russia. However, a formal trade deal has not been announced yet by the US or the European Union. The US president also said that Washington is in the process of completing a deal with China.
Just made a deal with the European Union where they're going to pay the United States of America 100% of the cost of all military equipment. They're going to ship it to the European Union and then they'll distribute it, and much of it will go to Ukraine. It's been a long time since you've heard those words, because we're in for $350 billion. But now we send it to Europe and Europe pays. And
Chinese President Xi Jinping vowed to deepen ties with the European Union as the two sides kicked off a summit in Beijing to discuss the trade conflict and the Ukraine war. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen urged the Chinese leader to address the rising trade imbalance between the two major economies. The summit marks 50 years since the establishment of EU-China bilateral relations. US President Trump has told the US tech companies to put America first. He said that the days of companies reaping the blessing of American freedom while building factories in China and hiring workers in India are over. He added that the American tech industry's pursuit of radical globalism betrayed millions in the US.
Our largest tech companies have reaped the blessings of American freedom while building their factories in China, hiring workers in India, and slashing profits in Ireland. You know that? All the while dismissing and even censoring their fellow citizens right here at home. Under President Trump, those days are over. We need U.S. technology companies to be all in for America. We want you to put America first. You have to do that. That's all we ask.
US President Trump is set to make a rare visit to the Federal Reserve later today. He's set to join a previously arranged tour for several White House advisors of the construction site where the Fed is renovating its headquarters. This comes after Trump indicated that Fed Chair Jerome Powell's handling of the renovation could be grounds for firing. A US president has not visited the central bank since the year 2006. Now to all the action on Dalal Street. Positive global cues failed to lift the sentiment on Dalal Street. Sensex and Nifty ended at the low point of the day after some sharp cuts. Sensex lost over 500 points, Nifty lost over 150. Nifty Bank Index fared relatively better, but mid-caps fell in tandem with the blue chips. Shares of Indian Energy Exchange plunged 30% a day after India's electricity regulator announced a mechanism known as market coupling. This will allow energy markets to create a single, uniform price for electricity across different trading platforms. The move will curb IEX's dominance. The fall is the second steepest decline among BSE 500 stocks in the last 5 years. Behind only Z Entertainment, Hormuz Patakia is here with more.
Hard to sum up indeed, and it's possibly the accident of the day, undoubtedly so. A 30% fall, the biggest drop on record for the stock itself. But this is not the first time that a stock has seen such a big intraday fall. In the last 5 years, we've seen many such accidents take place, and in fact, some of them in the last 12 months itself. We start off with the big one, though. Zee Entertainment was that one. It was a 32% fall that took place in January of 2024, and this was the day when the company had called off its mega merger that it had announced with Sony, and that was the day when the stock had taken this knock that it saw. The IEX, of course, we spoke about it, 30% fall today after the market coupling norms, and analysts also cutting their targets on the stock, expecting more downside. So that's a 30% fall for IEX. Adani Enterprises was the one that fell almost 28% on the 1st of February of 2023, and that is the day when it had called off its mega 20,000 crore rupee FPO in light of the Hindenburg report that had come out, which led to the stock seeing that very, very sharp fall along with other group companies as well. IndusInd Bank, of course, the saga came to light this year itself in March. The 27% drop was the biggest that it has seen on record in its trading history after the derivative portfolio discrepancies came to light. The saga now hopefully brokerage is estimating that will end as FY26 moves on. Paytm is the other one, a value destroyer for all these months. 2021 was the date listed on the 18th of November. It listed at a discount. It continued to move lower and continues to remain below its IPO price even today. Now, REC and PFC, both of them saw 25%, 23% drop on the 4th of June last year. That was the day when the Lok Sabha election results were declared, and all of the PSUs had taken a big knock during that trading session. And lastly, Cyient, another 23% drop in January of this year, and this is after the company had cut its growth guidance for both revenue and margins of a key business vertical, and that is what caused this stock price to fall in January this year. So definitely not the first instance, but the street would be hopeful that it definitely is the last for sure.
IndusInd Bank board has approved the fundraise of 30,000 crore rupees. The move is anticipated bid to provide confidence to investors and improve the bank's balance sheet. Shares of the private lender were under pressure in today's trading session. Ritu Singh joins us now with more. Ritu, take us through the bank's mega fundraise proposal.
Well, yes, the board of IndusInd Bank has approved a fundraise of up to 30,000 crore rupees, which is going to be subject to shareholder and regulatory approvals. Now, this includes up to 20,000 crores through debt securities, through private placements, and an additional 10,000 crore rupees through equity instruments like QIP, GDR or EDR. Now, importantly, the RBI has also cleared an amendment to the bank's Articles of Association, which will allow the promoter group to nominate up to 2 non-executive, non-independent directors to the board of IndusInd Bank. Now, remember, even currently, promoters Hinduja Group already have 1 representative on the board, which is Sudeep Basu, and this amendment will now allow them to have up to 2 representatives. Now, IndusInd Bank already maintains a healthy CET1 ratio of 15.1% and overall capital adequacy of 16.24%. So this capital raise is really being positioned not out of necessity as much as a strategic move. And analysts on the street are calling it confidence capital, which is aimed at reassuring investors really, especially following the prior asset write-offs and the current accounting issues that the bank is grappling with. Now, after this fundraise, the CET1 ratio is expected to rise to about 17.5%, which will imply a 240 basis point capital accretion. Now, if the bank does go ahead with this equity fundraise, we understand the promoter group, which currently holds about 15% stake in the bank, may also participate to avoid their stake dilution, as they have previously indicated in statements and even in their interviews to us. And this capital infusion by the promoters could also give a positive signal to the street.
The government has appointed former Department of Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay Seth as the new chairman of the insurance regulator IRDAI. He will hold the post for 3 years. The post has been vacant since March 2025 after Debashish Panda resigned. Seth has over 33 years of experience in public service. RBI, RDI are now being held by former Finance Ministry bureaucrats. Let's move on now. Torrent Power is in talks to purchase the thermal unit of Larsen & Toubro for around $1 billion. As per Bloomberg, both the companies are working with advisors on the deal and deliberations are currently ongoing. This transaction will help L&T use the case to reduce its debt. The Enforcement Directorate conducted searches at nearly 40 locations linked to Anil Ambani's Reliance Group companies in connection with the money laundering case. Sources say the raids are in connection with Reliance Communications allegedly defrauding banks for loans over 14,000 crore rupees. Santya Goria is here with more.
ED started conducting raids at premises linked to Anil Ambani and Anil Ambani group of companies Thursday morning. ED claims it conducted raids at 40 premises and 25 people linked to Anil Ambani and Anil Ambani group of companies. ED claims it is investigating charges of money laundering and illegal fund diversion secured by bad and illegal loans and other financial instruments like 81 bonds and perpetual FDs to the tune of 24,000 crore rupees. ED claims it is investigating charges of siphoning of public money by cheating public bank officials, investors and stakeholders. ED claims that it is investigating charges of illegal diversion of funds to shell companies, and also ED claims that it is investigating charges of bribing officials of Yes Bank and Canara Bank and promoters of Yes Bank. Now, this alleged defraud amount of 24,000 crore rupees as claimed by ED says that it has two parts. One part is 14,000 crore rupees and this was secured via bad and illegal loans. This includes 3,000 crore rupees loan from Yes Bank and over 1,000 crore rupees loan from Canara Bank. The second part is 10,000 crore rupees. According to ED, this part was secured by other financial instruments like 81 bond and perpetual FDs. ED claims that its investigation also has inputs from other agencies such as SEBI. The raids continued throughout Thursday, and ED claims that it raided premises, residence of top executives of the company and other premises in Mumbai and Delhi.
In earnings, SBI Life Insurance reported a 14% rise in net profit for the first quarter. This was largely due to strong renewal premiums, annualized premium equivalent and value of new business margins surpassed expectations. However, net premium income fell by 28%. And Nestle has reported a weak set of numbers in the first quarter, missing street estimates on most parameters. Net profit plunged over 13%, while revenue grew 6% on an annual basis. The company has said that the quarter was impacted by elevated consumption prices across the commodity portfolio. The management also added that the company witnessed higher operational costs due to significant expansion in manufacturing in the last 7 to 8 months. Air India's losses in FY25 have widened to nearly 11,000 crore rupees. However, revenue rose to more than 78,000 crore rupees, narrowing the gap with Indigo. Air India is the fourth largest contributor to the Tata Group's total revenue. Madhya Mujawar has more.
Well, this is the first time Air India has reported its financials as a merged entity, combining Air India, Vistara, Air India Express and AIX Connect, formerly known as Air Asia India. Air India and Vistara merged in November 2024, while Air India Express and AIX Connect merged in October 2024. And that's exactly why there's no clean comparison with FY23 or FY22. The previous years had separate books for each airline under Tata's aviation portfolio. The consolidation brought together aircraft, crew, routes, and the systems under one brand, one management, and one financial book. And that has made Air India the fourth largest revenue contributor for the Tata Group. FY25 revenue of 78,636 crores is close to Indigo, which clocked in 84,000 crores for the same year. That's a dramatic leap in scale and commercial footprint for Air India from its pre-privatization and pre-merger performance. But Air India's bottom line continues to bleed, coming in at a whopping 10,859 crores, making it the top loss maker for the Tata Group. Factors believed to be blamed are high operating costs, aircraft leases, training expenses, system integration, and digital upgrades. Here, Air India is far behind Indigo, which made a profit of 7,258 crores in FY25. So while the revenue momentum is impressive, the widening losses remains a concern for Air India. We know that costs are going to be high for the airline going forward, given the domestic and international flight cancellations after the June 12 tragedy. There is lower aircraft utilization due to inspections. There is higher usage of fuel and crew deployment due to longer routes after airspace closures. So whether losses will narrow or widen further in FY26, that's something we will have to watch out.
All right. Thank you, Madhya, for joining us. Now, aviation watchdog DGCA has issued 4 show-cause notices to Air India over compliance failures across crew scheduling, training and safety standards. 19 instances of violations in crew training and procedures were flagged. The notices also highlighted 3 instances of crew not receiving mandatory weekly rest. The DGCA has demanded responses from Air India within 14 to 15 days. The Aviation Ministry says that there were 59 aviation-related incidents reported in the last 3 years. Answering a query in Parliament, the Ministry said that these incidents may have happened due to various reasons, including bad weather, technical snags and bird hits. In another reply, the Aviation Ministry said that Air India has released an interim compensation of 25 lakh rupees to the kin of 128 deceased as part of the compensations on 18th July, at least till now. For the remaining people deceased in the Ahmedabad crash, the compensation is in various stages of document submission by their kin. 241 people died on board the aircraft in Ahmedabad, while 90 people were killed on ground. Global payments firm PayPal has tied up with UPI and other platforms to launch a global platform to facilitate cross-border payments. Company CEO Alex Chris has said that PayPal is seeing a huge influx of wallets from several players to join the platform. Speaking to Ritu Singh, Chris added that the company will continue to invest in India with partners like UPI.
Our plan is to launch in the fall, and we already have tremendous influx of other wallets that have chosen and are reaching out to want to join. India is a critical region for us. We want to partner with the best that are out there, which is why we partnered with UPI. We have a lot of merchants in India right now that are using PayPal services. And I think with the PayPal World offering, we may see significant adoption of the services that we continue to offer. India is a very important market for us and one that we will continue to invest in. And we'll do it with partners that matter, just like UPI.
Coming up on India Business Hour, the Supreme Court has stayed the Bombay High Court's order of acquitting all the accused convicted in the 2006 Mumbai train blast. More on this in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. Russian rescue services have found the wreckage of a plane that disappeared about 16 kilometers from its destination in the far east region of the country. The Angara Airlines plane had 43 passengers and 6 crew on board. There are reportedly no survivors. The burning wreckage was found in a forest near the destination airport after the flight vanished from radar during a second landing attempt. More than 10 people, including several civilians, have been killed in clashes between Thai and Cambodian troops. The fighting is reportedly ongoing in several locations along their shared border. Thailand's military has said that Cambodian troops opened fire first with heavy weapons. However, Cambodia's defense ministry reiterated that its troops acted in self-defense after coming under attack. Israeli forces have continued to bombard Gaza, killing at least 77 people, including 25 aid seekers in the last 24 hours. Hospital officials have said that at least 113 people have died from famine and malnutrition in the last 24 hours. Hamas has said that it has submitted its response to a proposed Gaza ceasefire deal to mediators. Israel has said it's examining the proposal and staying with the war in Gaza. India has called for a ceasefire in Gaza, stating that the intermittent pauses in hostilities are not enough to address the growing humanitarian challenges.
Today's meeting takes place against the backdrop of a persisting humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Intermittent pauses in hostilities are not enough to address the scale of humanitarian challenges confronting the people who grapple daily with acute shortages of food and fuel, inadequate medical services, and lack of access to education. The health and education situation is particularly troubling. The WHO estimates that around 95% of all hospitals in Gaza are damaged or destroyed. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights reports that more than 650,000 children have had no schooling for over 20 months.
Google has moved the Supreme Court of India challenging an NCLAT order that partly upheld the competition watchdog's findings on the company's Play Store billing policy. The case stems from a CCI directive that found Google guilty of abusing its dominant market position. The Commission had imposed a penalty of 936 crore rupees, a portion of which was later upheld by NCLAT. The Supreme Court has stayed the Bombay High Court's order of acquitting all the accused convicted in the 2006 Mumbai train blast. The top court said that the High Court's verdict would not set a precedent in deciding other cases. However, the court did not stop their release from jail. The decision came while hearing the Maharashtra government's plea against the acquittal. Opposition parties continued their protest in Parliament. The protests disrupted proceedings in both houses during the ongoing monsoon session for the fourth straight day. The opposition is demanding a discussion on the special intensive revision of the Bihar electoral roll. The Speaker criticized the opposition's conduct, calling it undignified. And before we wrap, McDonald's is adding a protein slice to its burgers in India. Shilpa Rani Peta caught up with Westlife Food World's Akshay Jatia, which operates McDonald's outlets in India, to find out more about the new protein bet.
Protein slice, which allows consumers to add it to any product, and it includes 5 grams of protein in a very thin slice. So the protein content is pretty much the main nutrition you're getting from it. Allows McDonald's to become even more relevant as consumers are chasing more protein in their diet.
What is the current operating macro environment like for you? Are you seeing any good signs of improvement?
There has been some macroeconomic headwinds. The entire category has seen a little bit of resistance in terms of growth. But I think, as we've covered in most of our recent communication, we're quite enthused with a lot of our efforts on the ground. We have delivered, 3 consecutive quarters of positive same-store sales growth in a very tough environment. We are seeing a lot of traction in, West India. We are intervening more specifically in South India. But we're confident, with the experiments, with initiatives like this that we have implemented, the green shoots are visible, and we are confident to get back onto our trajectory of growth to deliver our Vision 2027.
All right, with that, it's a wrap with this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC-TV18.